As we start our journey up Mount Elbert, we come to some research that 40 million years ago, the white dikes of granite and porphyry of the high summits were discovered. Some of the older rocks on Mount Elbert are almost 2 billion years old. Once I woke up and came out of my tent, I noticed these overcast skies, and somehow the sun managed to poke through them. When I finished getting ready, I met up with my friend Chris and discussed our hike up before we started to descend Mount Elbert. When we were talking, an approaching storm over the Elk Mountains came. It was quite a relief once I found out that I wouldn't have to camp quite so high again. Because of all the high altitude, it's hard to breathe, especially when you're trying to sleep or climb a mountain. Mount Elbert is usually climbed in two different main ways, via South Elbert Trailhead or the North Elbert Half Moon Trailhead. It was the birthplace of dreams to be on top of Mount Elbert. The trail that we took was the North Elbert Trailhead. I decided to get my old blue tent after an 8-peak absence. I knew that climbing Mount Elbert, it would have to involve multiple climbs, ski descents, and moonlight summits in the dark. I also knew this would have to take a lot of training to climb the summit. I also grew up less than an hour away from here, so I was used to the weather and the place. And I had a very long history of climbing Mount Elbert too. My friend Chris said we were sleeping on the rooftops of Colorado in the winter, and it was a cold, windy night at 14,440 feet above the ground. The winds were up to 50 miles per hour, snapping one of our tent poles. The temperatures we got were 5 below zero at night. Chris also said that you could have a storm at 11 o'clock and another one later that afternoon, but it will miss the east part of Mount Elbert, and that's what makes the stage of a beautiful night. Once we reached the top, we felt such an accomplishment that we made it to the top of Mount Elbert.